The Denver Broncos control their own destiny for the top seed in the AFC. We look to make it 4 wins in a row as we are headed to Lambeau Field facing off against Jordan Love and the 5-7 Green Bay Packers, a team who really has to win this game in what should be a very fun matchup. Our team has played really well since the bye week, and I think we're at a really good spot. We're peaking at the right time of the year after some hiccups early in the season, and I think we look like one of, if not the very best teams in the AFC, currently positioned as the number 1 seed with back-to-back wins against the Raiders and the Chiefs, who are only a game behind us in the AFC West. We knew how pivotal these two matchups would be, and we won them both by multiple possessions. We blew out the Raiders, and then last episode against the Chiefs, I think the game was closer than the score suggests. We found ourselves down going into the fourth, but Bo Nix played really well late, and Patrick Mahomes struggled in the second half after a strong start. The offense continues to be quite solid without Ashton Jeanty in the lineup, although we did lose Marvin Mims again, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the defense has been so much better over the last few weeks. They had some rough games early in the year, and going into the bye week, the team really was not playing well. We had the embarrassing loss against the Raiders. We were down by 17 with 7 minutes to go against the Chargers. I still don't know how we won that game. We had a bad loss against Detroit. Even though we were 6-3, vibes were low, and we've beat 3 playoff teams in a row, with the defense not allowing more than 17 points in any of those 3 games. And the offense has been super steady, scoring between 28 and 31 in all 3 of those games. The schedule doesn't get much easier. We still have the Chiefs again. We still have the Ravens. The Jets are in the mix, as is Green Bay. Last episode, I promised that we would have a prospect profile today, and we actually are, finally. We're going to be covering the running backs and wide receivers in this year's draft class. The tight ends are going to be moved over to the next episode. So we're going to start at running back. I think it's a pretty good class for the position, and our roster's in an interesting spot at the position with Ashton Jeanty and Trevion Henderson. Jeanty, through 3 seasons, has been a good but not great player. And we're going to have a decision to make after next season with his contract being up. And I think it's a fair discussion to have, given that he isn't necessarily a superstar yet, along with the fact that this is now 2 out of 3 seasons where he's only going to play half the year. He missed 8 games as a rookie. He's likely to miss the remainder of the regular season this year. We're hoping he will be back in time for the playoffs. That's 16 games. That's pretty much a full season's worth of action missed. And for a guy who isn't necessarily a game changer, is that the type of player you want to extend? I don't know. Trevion Henderson, we got him at the deadline to be the lightning to Ashton Jeanty's thunder, but he's been thrusted into a larger role, and in the 4 weeks we've had him, I think he's been quite solid. But again, he's also a free agent after next year, and it's always risky to pay running backs second contracts. Zamir White and Harrison Whaley are good for their roles. White is a short yardage back, Whaley is a pass-catching back, but both of them are complementary options rather than starters. So I think drafting a running back early would not be impossible, per se, especially for a team like us who's well-rounded and doesn't have many major needs. And I think it is a pretty good running back class. Now, I still think there's a much higher ceiling for a guy like Ashton Jeanty, which would be the reason why we don't pick one. But if we do decide to go that route, there are some good options. Here in the first round, you've got multiple guys who could go on day 1. Peyton Lewis and Caleb Jackson are both very different from each other, but they're both very good. Lewis reminds me a lot of another former Tennessee running back, Alvin Kamara. Both of them are dynamic in the passing game. They're strong in the run game. Lewis is quick and twitchy, but he's not a small back. 6'1", 200 pounds. He's quick and explosive out of the backfield, and he gets to the second level faster than just about anybody. I think that, combined with what he offers on first, second, and third down, will entice teams a lot, given that he is the modern prototype at the running back position. He's averaged around 1,000 yards on the ground over the last 2 seasons. He has worked in a running back by committee. He's been the main guy. He's done it all for Tennessee, and I think teams are really going to like that. As for Caleb Jackson, I think he's more of your traditional downhill, physical runner. I'm really excited to watch him in the playoff with LSU, the playoff of the Kansas series coming quite soon. I think Jackson is a slightly easier projection to the next level than Peyton Lewis, because in the NFL, everyone's fast, and it's going to be harder for Lewis in the second level against linebackers and DBs. But with Caleb Jackson, I mean, he's just so strong. He's so physical. He's so tough. He doesn't necessarily offer the pass-catching upside that I think Peyton Lewis does, which probably hurts his ceiling a little bit. But he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. He's really improved over the last few years. And LSU has used him quite a bit as a receiver. Even though he's not as dynamic in open space as Lewis, he can catch the ball when necessary. So I think both of those guys are certainly worthy of going in the first round. But for the teams who miss out on them, there are some good consolation prizes, including Quintravion Wisner out of Texas. The Longhorns have been churning out skill position players over the last half-decade like it's nobody's business, and Wisner is up next. 6 foot, 195 pounds, another guy who is an impressive combination of size, speed, and strength, along with offering value in the passing game. Now, he got injured 3 touches into the year this season, and he missed a large chunk of the year. He has played the last 3 games, though, and he's looked really good, easing scouts' concerns of the injury. Then we get to Yassine Willis out of Syracuse, and he's not the most physically talented back in the world. I wouldn't say he has some super high ceiling, but the guy just gets it done. One of the most productive players in college football, let alone one of the most productive running backs over the last couple of seasons at Syracuse. 6'1", 215, tough, physical, between the tackles runner. He definitely misses some of that launch speed or explosiveness that you look for in a top 50 pick at the position, but he's just so sturdy. He's so consistent. He's so solid. Over 1,000 yards in each of the last 2 seasons, and he's done so on great efficiency. Now, the fumbles are a little bit of a concern. He's coughed it up 6 times over the last 2 years, but on a play-by-play basis, he is as reliable and as consistent as it gets. The turnovers and the launch speed are really the only concerns with him. Later on day 2, we've got Taylor Pinto from USC, good pass-catching back in Sam Onatulu's offense. Darrell Robinson, the UConn transfer, going to Michigan. He's been a little disappointing this year, but the entire Michigan team has. Hollywood Smothers out of NC State. I thought going into the year he could have been one of the top 3 backs off the board, but he hasn't been all that good either this season. There's still a high level of body of work with him, keeping him in the top 100. And that brings us to Caden Durham, another LSU guy. We already talked about Caleb Jackson earlier. Durham's fascinating, though, because he ended up winning college football's Running Back of the Year award, but he's not even really a running back. LSU uses him all over the offense, but where I think he's most effective is in the slot. And I think this is where he's going to play at the next level in the NFL. LSU uses him in the slot, they use him out wide, they use him all over the backfield, and I think that versatility is going to really entice teams. When you have a chess piece like this who you can move all over the offense and is going to be pretty effective regardless of where he lines up, I think that's going to make teams very, very excited about how they can use him. It's going to need to be a creative offensive coordinator, though, who gets his hands on him. The one problem with Durham is when he does line up as a running back, he really hasn't been all that effective. Less than 3 yards per carry over the last 2 years, granted on a small sample size. And he's been used primarily as a short yardage back, so that's going to hurt his average. But his ball carrier vision out of the backfield is quite questionable. He was recruited to LSU as a running back and really is just better at wide receiver. But I think he can add value out of the backfield. After him, you've got Ricky Hunt Jr., 4-year starter at Ohio, the only player who has more rushing yards in terms of active players than Clyde Poole. Nobody has ran for more yards currently in college football than Ricky Hunt. You then got the Florida duo, Trayon Webb and KD Daniels. They are a traditional 1-2 punch, running back by committee, split the carries. Each of them average around the same amount of touches per game. I think Trayon Webb has been the more consistent player during his time with the Gators, but I think KD Daniels projects out better as an NFL prospect. His speed is unbelievable, and I think his ability to get to the second level only rivals that of Peyton Lewis in this draft class. There is not another back who has more explosiveness and is pure dynamite with the ball than KD Daniels. He doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires as well. Being in a running back by committee with Webb, he's never been the go-to guy. He's never averaged more than 150 touches per year, and I think that's going to bode well for him going into the next level because his legs are fresh. He doesn't get the ball 30 times a game. He's going to be a good complementary piece early on in an NFL offense with the upside to provide more. Looking later on day 3, I like Kyson Brown from Arizona State. Manny Covey from Cincinnati, two good Big 12 players. Another one, you've got Bryson Washington from Baylor. Cedric Irvin from Florida State. He torched the Kansas defense earlier in the year. And then Joe Jackson from Kansas State as we look at the wide receiver position now. A lot of people seem to think we should draft a wide receiver early because this team is missing a true alpha number one guy. And I think that's true to an extent because when Marvin Mims is on the field, he's really, really good. The problem is the injuries have gotten completely out of hand with him, and he's not a guy we can depend on because, well, he's not consistently on the field. However, when he plays, he is a really good player. It seems like a lot of people think we should eat the dead money with him and move on. I don't think that's a great idea. Yes, there's some buyer's remorse with the contract extension because, well, he's likely to miss around 10 total games this year. But he's still really good when he's on the field. It's one thing if he's a liability when he's out there, but he's not. For right now, I think we've got to eat this contract, and if he continues to have health problems, then maybe we move on later into the deal. But for now, he's going to be on our team. He's gotten at least 900 yards in each of the last 3 years. So when he's on the field, he's good. The problem is 5 missed games in 2025. He missed 5 in 2026. And if we're lucky, he'll miss 10 this year. That's 20 games in 3 years. That's a lot. But again, when he plays, he's a number one guy. It's just that we can't trust him to stay on the field. Behind Marvin Mims, we've got some good players. Tez Johnson, Chris Brazzell, Ryan Williams, and then good complementary pieces with Horn and Savion Williams. Tez Johnson is a traditional slot guy. He's never going to be a number one, but he's a good Robin to someone else's, I guess Marvin Mims, Batman. Chris Brazzell, I still think there's a lot of untapped upside with him. We've seen the high-end flashes. He just needs to be more consistent. I think if there is a long-term number one on this team, though, it's most likely to be Ryan Williams. For being the youngest guy in the NFL, he's been really productive and really consistent. We've needed him more than I expected this year with the injuries to Marvin Mims, and I think he's really stepped up. Now, there's still a chance we could look to add a receiver early in the first round because it is a very strong wide receiver class, as is the case just about every year now. There is so much talent entering the pros at this position. This season is no different. The highest drafted wide receiver in this series is Jeremiah Smith a year ago at number 4 to the Patriots. Well, Perry Thompson of Auburn has a chance to beat that. We talked about Thompson in last year's prospect profile as a potential top 10 pick, and he was challenging Jeremiah Smith to be the wide receiver 1. He decided to stay in school, and for guys projected in the top 10, normally that's a bad decision. We've already seen it in this series with guys like Nick Scorton and Evan Stewart. But for Perry Thompson, it's worked out, and he might be the first non-quarterback off the board. 4 years of high-level production, likely to finish with over 1,000 yards 3 years in a row. 10-plus touchdowns in 2 out of the last 3 seasons, including 17 this year as a senior. 6'3", 200-plus pounds. He's got the best hands in the draft. He does not drop the ball. He is consistent, but he is dynamic. Big play threat who can stretch the field. He can get open in the short game. He can get open vertically. And again, he does not drop the ball. He really is the best receiver prospect I think we've seen in this series, which says a lot with guys like Jeremiah Smith, Ted McMillan, and others. There are other receivers in this class, though, vying to go in the top 10, and that includes Nitro Tuggle, the redshirt junior out of the University of Georgia. He is nitro quick on and off the field. Yes, he has been arrested for a driving-related incident, making him the perfect Georgia Bulldog. I think this is the best route runner in the draft. He wins in very different ways to Perry Thompson, but I think he's close to as good as Thompson as a prospect. His hands are not quite as good, but he's pretty much just as explosive, and again, nobody gets open like this guy does. Now, teams have blanketed him in coverage over the last couple of years, causing his numbers to go down since his sophomore season. That's along with the fact that Georgia's had 3 different starting quarterbacks in his 3 seasons as a starter, so he's never really been able to build that rapport with a consistent quarterback. Obviously, he hopes that'll change in the NFL. During Ryan Wingo's sophomore season back in year number 2, I thought we were looking at the next great wide receiver prospect, and, well, it hasn't necessarily been all sunshine and rainbows since then, but I think he has certainly looked the part of a first-round draft pick. 6'2", 210 pounds. He gets to another gear in terms of his speed that both Perry Thompson and Nitro Tuggle do not have. One of the fastest players in this class. His combination of size and speed is extremely rare. Combine that with the production, and there's a lot to be excited about. Now, he's never finished with over 1,000 yards, but he almost did as a sophomore. The entire Texas offense just has been inconsistent over the last couple of years. Arch Manning never really developing into the player they had hoped for, and that's Sean Dwingo's development a little bit. Teams project him, though, to still be a star-level receiver, and I think he could be a great player in the NFL. Jackson Pressey from Alabama has seemingly come out of nowhere and has taken the college football world by storm. He was not a producer of this offense until this season, where he's been one of the most explosive receivers in the country. 5'10", 180. He's built like a slot guy. He looks like a slot guy, and he can play in the slot if you need him to. But he's not. This is someone who wins on the outside. His ability to separate against physical corners is what makes him so much different compared to other receivers that look like him. He can really stretch the field vertically. He averages over 20 yards per reception. The deep connection between him and quarterback Eli Holstein is really fun to watch. And really the big question with him is, outside of him being a one-year wonder, is much of his production manufactured by having the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback throwing him the ball. Otherwise, even though he has a unique profile in terms of being an outside receiver who's built like a slot guy, I think teams are going to like the uniqueness of his game and pick him in the first round. Amarian Miller from Colorado is an ascending young player who's gotten better and better and better each season with the Buffaloes. His linear development shows that he's going to continue to grow and eventually become a high-end starting caliber receiver in the NFL. 6'2", 195. He might be the most dynamic receiver in this class with the football in his hands. He's not the route runner that, say, a guy like Nitro Tuggle is. He doesn't have the hands that, say, Perry Thompson does. He doesn't have the launch speed of Ryan Wingo or Jackson Pressey, but he's not far behind any of those guys in terms of those attributes, and he is a weapon. Colorado loves to get him the ball in open space where he is a playmaker. Over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns as a sophomore and as a senior. We got to see him when Kansas went up to Boulder earlier this year to face off against Colorado, where he had some big catches against the Jayhawks. Currently sitting as a fringe first rounder, along with Nick Marsh out of Michigan State, who's been a high-level player for the Spartans over the last few seasons. 6'2", nearly 215 pounds. The first thing you notice with him is that he looks the part of an NFL wide receiver. I think the physicality that he plays with in the Big Ten is really going to translate well to the NFL level. He's around 6'2", 6'3", 210 pounds. He's got really good hands. He's elusive with the ball as well. He's super well-rounded. There's no weaknesses in his game, and I think he's going to be able to contribute at a high level very early on as a rookie for whoever drafts him, whether that's a contender late in the first round or a team looking to add some young talent in the early second round. Consistent 4-year player at Michigan State, nearly 1,300 yards last season. This year, double-digit touchdowns. He's been good since his true freshman year and has found a way to get better and better and better during his time with the Spartans. I'm curious to see what order these top 6 guys go in, and all of them could end up in the first round. Very, very special group at the top. But for the teams who don't pick a receiver in the first round, what are some of the day 2 options? We'll start with Devin Hyatt out of Arizona, who has scored 40 touchdowns over the last 3 years. The younger brother of Jalen Hyatt, Devin really doesn't play like his brother at all. The big weakness with his game is, ironically, launch speed, and I think that's what's going to hold him out of the first round, because otherwise he's got the size, he's got the production, he's got the intangibles you look for in a first rounder. He just doesn't have the same quickness and explosiveness that the other guys do at the top of this draft. Nearly half of his career touchdowns came as a junior last year, where he found the end zone 19 times. This year, he's only scored 12 times, but is likely to hit the 1,000-yard threshold during the team's bowl game. Really impressive athlete other than his speed, so it's not that he's unathletic, and it's not even that he's slow. He's just slow in comparison to the other guys. Aiden Williams and Cortez Boyd, the 2 Ole Miss guys. Williams, good route runner, crisp, getting open within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage. And then Cortez Boyd, 6'5", 210 pounds. With wide receivers that size, you think physical, jump ball, go up and get it guys. And that's exactly to a T what Cortez Boyd is. This is someone who can high point the football. He's got impressive ball skills, much like a tight end, but he's fast enough and runs routes quickly enough to play wide receiver. Now, he's definitely not the quickest per se. His short area quickness isn't great, but you see that often with guys who are 6'5". He's got great hands, again, great ball skills. He can match up with just about anybody who covers him defensively, whether it's a corner, a safety, or even a linebacker. Now, his production's taken a step back this year. Coming into this season, I thought he was going to be a first-round pick, but he's played a little bit worse. I still think we're looking at a potential second-rounder, but wasn't quite the year he had hoped for. Braylon James from TCU, I think he's got a really high floor, very, very well-rounded player across the board, highly productive over the last 3 years with the Frogs. Miles Steele does not have a low floor. I think he's probably the most boom or bust guy of these receivers. The 20-year-old redshirt sophomore is likely to be the youngest player in this year's draft class, and he reminds me a lot of DK Metcalf coming out of Ole Miss, but probably a little bit slower and certainly less stronger. I think the best way to describe the Maryland playbook is if Jameis Winston was a set of plays. I mean, Miles Steele has one route really that he knows. Go ball. He can stretch the field vertically, where he's averaged nearly 20 yards per catch this season with the Terps, and it's been a perfect fit of team and player because that's the one route that Miles Steele can run, and that's really the one route that Maryland needs him to run, since much of their offense is just looking down the field. We saw that last year in the playoff, where it seemed like they were getting a 50-yard touchdown every quarter. He's going to have to really learn how to run routes, though. There is not an NFL playbook that is any similar to that of Maryland. So I'm curious to see how he develops. I think the ceiling is high, but he's got a ways to go. In terms of these day two guys after him, Ashton Kozar, big body target from SMU, Jaron Hamilton from Alabama. His play has really ascended this year. And again, it's easy to ask, is he a product of having the best quarterback in the country? Or is he just really that good? And I would say it's probably a little bit of both. Solid route runner, solid hands, really good separator, solid speed as well. He doesn't really have any major weaknesses. I think the floor with him, much like a guy like Braylon James, Nick Marsh, or Marion Miller, is quite high, but he's projected to go later than those guys. Averaged 24.5 yards per catch last year, only 18 this year. He has 82 career receptions. 25 of them have been for touchdowns. So roughly 30% of the time he gets the ball, he ends up in the end zone. That's pretty good. Jordan Faison from Notre Dame is up next. He is the current leader in all of college football in terms of receiving yards. And I don't know if there's an easier projection in this class than Jordan Faison. He is a tried, true, traditional slot receiver. Put him in the slot and let him cook. He's going to be productive early on as a rookie. The ceiling with him is low because he's only 5'10". He's not the biggest. He's not the fastest. He isn't going to match up with physical corners very well. But the guy just knows how to get open. He's the very traditional, like 2010s New England Patriots type of receiver, minus the fact that he isn't white. But he's as normal of a slot receiver as you'll find. So I think the high floor and the easy projection with him is going to make teams really like him. As you can see, it's a very good group of receivers in terms of guys projected in the top 100. Behind them, the former 5-star Rajai Mosby from Iowa. Hasn't lived up to his 5-star recruitment, probably because he chose Iowa, but I'm excited to see him in the playoff. Cole Adams, Iverson Hooks, both smaller guys, but electric with the ball in their hands. Marshawn Brown from Nevada, I'm excited to see him face off against Kansas. 6'4", 4-year starter. I really like Zion Taylor from Georgia Tech. What you see is what you get. Really high floor for a day 3 guy. I like Grant Gray from UCLA. I think the ceiling with him is really high. 2-sport star, plays baseball as well. And I want to talk about Mario Maddox real quick from Kansas. Maddox has only played 2 games this year. He tore his rotator cuff late last season. The surgery was botched. He missed the first 10 games of this year, so he's only played 2 games as a senior for the Jayhawks. He's played well up to this point, and he's been a major positive coming back to the Kansas offense. He primarily plays in the slot, but I think he'll be able to win on the outside. He's only 5'8", but he's not a twig. He's 200 pounds. He's explosive. He can really stretch the field vertically. He hit the big 55-yard touchdown last week against BYU. And he was productive as a junior before he got injured and before he had a very strong offseason apart from injury setbacks. I'm excited to see what happens with his NFL career, even though He's a fringe 7th rounder at best. I think he really could be a gem for whoever lands him. So with that, we get set for our matchup against the Packers, who are a fringe playoff team right now. They have the number 4 scoring offense in the league. These guys get points. But otherwise, their team has not been great, largely because they had the 2nd worst scoring defense in the NFL. Their best chance of making the playoffs is not as a wild card, but probably winning the division. The Vikings, Bears, and Lions are all 6-6, and the Packers are just 1 game behind them. So there's no margin for error at this point for Green Bay. They've got to go probably 5-1 at worst to have a good shot at making the playoffs, maybe 4-2 if they're lucky. They started this season 3-1 before losing 5 in a row, but they've played better as of recent. 41, 31 points over the last 3 weeks. The offense couldn't keep up with their defensive struggles, though, in a loss last week against the Raiders. Granted, when it's a good day for the Raiders, their offense is better than anyone's in the NFL, and we've seen the Raiders on a good day and a bad day for them. Jordan Love has definitely been the MVP of this Packers team this year. He's having maybe the best season of his career in his 8th year at Utah State, completing 73% of his passes, 29 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. There's a real argument that he's been the best quarterback in the NFC, and he's especially scary because now we're in December, which is Toyotathon. Jordan Love is a Toyotathon merchant after all. The run game has been lacking this year, largely because of the regression of 29-year-old Josh Jacobs, who pairs up with Marshawn Lloyd in the backfield. I do like their receivers. Jaden Reed has developed into an awesome player. J. Michael Sturdivant, former first-rounder. The defense, though, is not great. They've got some good players on that side of the ball. I look at Edgerrin Cooper. He's developed really well. Takario Davis, former first-rounder. He's become a really good player. But as a unit, the defense has been bad. They haven't been able to stop the pass. They haven't been able to stop the run. Again, the 2nd highest scoring defense in the NFL. They average around 28 points per game. The Broncos have scored between 28 and 31 over the last 3 weeks. So we'll see if Denver's offense is able to continue their impressive string of games, or if the Packers are able to win what I would certainly consider a must-win game for Jordan Love and company as Denver starts with it. First play from scrimmage at the 24. Bo Nix looking deep. He connects. It's Christian Horn to the 47. Horn is likely to get some extra reps today. Tez Johnson suffered a shoulder injury in practice. He will not go, and that's already with Marvin Mims out. Nix under pressure. He's sacked on 2nd and 3. Rashawn Gary brings him down, the veteran in his 9th season out of the University of Michigan. 3rd down and 16 for the Broncos. Nix looks to throw it. Quick throw up the middle for Ryan Williams, and he gets around 15. That was a good play there by the Broncos. They weren't necessarily looking for the home run, but they wanted to put themselves in manageable 4-down territory so they can go for it here on 4th and inches. Full back in the game, Trevion Henderson barely gets it. He ran into the defender, but is able to get the first down. With Henderson coming over from the Bears, I'm hoping there's still some Packer hate left in his blood. Although, I mean, he should anyway. You guys know how I feel about Green Bay. Sorry, Packers fans, as Nix tries to escape it. He cannot. Edgerrin Cooper brings him down. What a season for Cooper. The only player in the NFL with more interceptions than Patrick Surtain this season. Nix on 3rd down. That pass is low. Savion Williams was open in the end zone. He won the rep against Tommy Hill. But a bad throw by Nix leads to a 4th down. 36-yard field goal try will squeak through. Was not the prettiest kick in the world for Will Lutz, but hey, 3 points is 3 points. So Green Bay now has it. The rookie running back, Lee Beebe Jr. in the backfield as he will get it on 1st down, and he loses 2, wrapped up by Michael Williams. UAB's been churning out guys to the league on offense. Wide receiver Amari Thomas with the Colts. Cam Shanks and Iverson Hooks, the receivers in this year's class. That Blazer offense is as good of a Group 5 offense, I think, as we will ever see for a long time. 3rd and 6. Love tries to get the first, and he cannot. He is stopped by Benjamin Morrison, starting now in his 4th game in the slot. Won Player of the Week in his first start against the Bengals. Had a rough game last week, but I don't expect it to be perfect with him. 2nd and 2. Nix floats it up. Brazel climbs the ladder! It's a gain of 44 if it stands. There is a flag, contact there, and they call it on the defense. Takario Davis is the tallest corner in the NFL. He's 6'4". And with pass interfering on Chris Brazel, Brazel's still able to go up there and make the catch. There's a reason why we still really believe in that young man. His physicality at 6'5" is special. Henderson loses 5 there. Rashawn Gary and Quay Walker bring him down, and that'll make it a 3rd and 15. Nix looks to throw it. Looking deep, up the seam, no good for Christian Horn, as Takario Davis is there with the deflection. Davis led the NFL in interceptions as a rookie. So now it's a 48-yard try for Will Lutz. That kick is right down the middle, and Denver late in the first quarter adds to their lead at 6-0. We've dominated time of possession so far. The Packers have had like 4 or 5 offensive plays up to this point. We just haven't been able to find the end zone. We're one of the best red zone offenses in the NFL, as is Green Bay. And so far, we haven't capitalized in that regard. The Packers' defense is a lot of yards. They haven't looked all that good so far, but they've gotten stops late in drives when they've needed to, with the big sack by Cooper on the first drive and then Trevion Henderson losing 5 on the last drive. Love connects. Curls get the girls. It's Christian Watson to the 38-yard line, still in Green Bay, despite an injury-riddled start to his career. From the 41, here is Love, looking down the field for Watson. You are not beating him in a foot race. 59 yards goes Christian Watson, and the Packers take the lead. Christian Watson on the drag route is able to outrun the 2 safeties, Savon Revel and Marvin Grant, and the Green Bay Packers now find themselves on top 7-6. Denver back with it, 3rd and 5. Here is Nix. Looks to throw it. Goes short. What a play! Deflecting it away. And that'll lead to a punt. Green Bay gets it back. From the 44. Play action for Lloyd. Love goes short. He finds Watson again. Busy start for Christian Watson, as he's already got 3 catches for 82 yards. That's Marshawn Lloyd hurt on the play for the Packers, as it's now 3rd and 5. Love looking short. Big hit! But Jaden Reed is able to absorb it and somehow holds on to the ball. What a grab by Reed. 3rd and 3. Josh Jacobs, first down, annihilates Drew Sanders, throwing him to the ground. The old man showing that he's still got it. 1st and goal now from the 2. We'll see if Green Bay can punch it in again. Love, quick throw. It's caught. Jaden Reed in for the touchdown. An impressive second quarter for Green Bay. They now lead 14-6. Denver has only averaged 2 points per possession. That's not enough against one of the worst scoring defenses in the league. 2nd and 4. Trevion Henderson to the outside. Big run for Trey as he gets it to the 47. This should feel like home for Trevion Henderson. Big Ten country, obviously played a lot of games in the cold, playing for the Ohio State University. 0-4 against Michigan, though. 2nd and 7. There is a nice play by Harrison Whaley to the 34. And the Broncos are moving it fairly nicely down the field. 3rd and 5 now. Nix under pressure off the blitz. Ball's out! And it's picked up by the Packers. Kenny Clark rips it away on the sack. And Green Bay forces the turnover. Edgerrin Cooper, who's been a turnover machine this year with his 7 interceptions, is the one who picked up the fumble. The Broncos, though, with a quick sack of their own. Muy bonito! It's Nick Benito in the backfield, and the Broncos call time. They're expecting to get the ball back, clearly. 3rd and 14 at the 38. Jordan Love up the middle. It's caught by Jaden Reed. Solid gain. Gets around 11. Not going to be enough for the first. Then Denver will call a timeout as Savon Revel brings him down. So that'll lead to a punt. The Broncos get it back at the 14-yard line, looking to get out of this rut that we're in offensively. To start the drive, Nix looks to throw it under pressure. Hit as he throws, and it's picked! Tommy Hill with the interception for the Packers. Back-to-back plays from scrimmage where Bo Nix has turned it over. Not many quarterbacks have done a better job this year than Nix with avoiding turnovers. Only 4 interceptions and 2 fumbles coming into the game, but he now has a fumble and an interception on back-to-back plays. One-handed snag by the tight end Luke Musgrave. He gets it to the 8. Packers with a great chance to make it a 2-score lead, already up by 8, as it's a 2nd and goal. Love looks to throw it, scrambles, under pressure, and he is sacked on the play. The Packers now looking at a 3rd and goal from around the 10. They were the ones to use the timeout there, interestingly enough. Since they're on the goal line, I don't really see why they did that, but okay, you do you, Matt LaFleur. Love looking to throw it, clean pocket for the end zone. It's picked off. Marvin Grant, Marvelous Marv, with the interception. Aleem McNeil a little shaken up on the play, but a huge turnover by the Broncos, holding 3 or possibly even 7 points off the board. Still a one-score game. We'll see if the offense can finally wake up. 3 straight scoreless drives, 2 straight with a turnover, as Nix rolls out, has Brazel open, but he overthrows it. That could have been a huge gain for Brazel. Could have gone out of bounds, put him in field goal range. Not going to happen, though, ending a very underwhelming first half. The Packers allow more points than almost anyone in the NFL, but we've scored 6 on 6 drives today, including 4 straight drives without a single point. Let's take a look at a halftime report around the rest of the NFL. Don't look now. Here come the Fins. The Miami Dolphins are all of a sudden on the verge of sniffing a playoff spot. They currently lead the ice-cold Bills 14-7 at the break. The Bills won 16 games last year. It looked like they were going to be the best team in the regular season again this year, but they have hit a cold streak. It seems like they've hit a little bit of a wall. Josh Allen has not played a good game at all for Buffalo, and if the Dolphins win this one, they'll be within 1 game of first place in the division. The New York Jets have gotten decimated by injuries. Undrafted rookie quarterback, 4th-string running back, 3rd-string receivers, and they are dominating the playoff hopeful Titans 21-3. Tennessee is no slouch. They are a good team who is getting run out the building by the Jets. Jalen Milroe, of course, has not played all year. Drew Aller has been replaced by undrafted rookie Connor Harrell, who's been really good. That was Joseph Manjack, the former Jayhawk, with the touchdown. We're going to see the Jets next week, who are expected to get a lot healthier with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall returning to the lineup. And then in Jerry's world, only 1 touchdown in this game. The former Cowboy, Ryan Flournoy, in for New Orleans. The Saints on top of the Cowboys 10-6 up to this point in a low-scoring defensive battle. The defending champs, though, the defending back-to-back champs, on upset alert against a Saints team who are in a similar spot as Green Bay, 5-7. No margin for error at this point. They know what is at stake, and they've been impressive defensively against Dak and the gang. Going into the second half, we need more from the offense. Bo Nix has turned it over twice today. He's been pretty mediocre otherwise, 11 of 18, 134 yards. He's been outplayed by Jordan Love, 14 of 20, 154, 2 scores. He did have the interception late by Marvin Grant, just the second interception of his NFL career, believe it or not. The run game has been mediocre, I would say. Tregon Henderson's been fine, but we haven't gotten a lot out of him. We've got some big plays through the air. Williams with some nice catches. Brazel had the big one, but nobody has more than 2 catches in this game. We've really missed not having either Marvin Mims or Tez Johnson. Last year, it was always one of those guys hurt. Right now, it's both of them. There's Bosa off the blitz with the sack. A big start defensively for Denver, forcing a 4th down. Bosa was supposed to be in zone coverage, but he saw the A-gap wide open and figured, why not take advantage? It's risky, but it paid off. Nix on 1st down, floats it up, and it's caught. How did Harold Fannin come down with that one? I do not know. The most impressive gain of 9 I think I've just about ever seen. 2nd and 1, play action. Nix looks to throw it as a man wide open up the middle. It's Brazel with a little Brazel-dazzle. Breaking tackles to the 18-yard line. Brazel showing off his impressive lateral movement skills. Guys who are 6'5" should not be able to move the way that Chris Brazel does. 3rd and 7 now at the 15. Denver back in the red zone where they've struggled today. Nix misfires! Looking for Brazel again. He was covered, but I think he could have made that catch if Nix was able to time the throw. 32-yard field goal for Will Lutz is good. Lutz has made all 3 of his kicks today, but at some point, we've got to find the end zone. 9 points against, again, one of the worst defenses in the NFL is not enough. Packers back with it. Josh Jacobs to the outside. Outruns Bosa, who makes a bad angle, and Josh Jacobs brings it to the 40 for a Packers 1st down halfway through the 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 3 now. The defense overall has been quite good today. I know I've been sour on the offense, but 14 points for one of the better offenses in the league. Hard to complain. Now, that was not a good defensive rep. We got lucky that Jordan Love blatantly missed an open receiver. But nonetheless, that leads to a punt. 2 scoreless drives to open up the 3rd for the Packers, and Denver gets it back. 3rd and 3, faking the handoff. Nix goes short, and Henderson gets lit up! Javon Bullard delivers the boom. That looked like 5 big booms, to be exact. What a tackle. That was a good play there by Nix to not force the deep pass, but nothing Trevion Henderson could have done. 3rd and 9, final seconds of the third. Love throws it away. A very strong defensive quarter by the Broncos. 3 drives, 0 points for the Packers. But we only finished with 3 points ourselves to show for it. I think Bo Nix played better in that third quarter. Still has not been one of his better games, though. We trail 14-9 going into the fourth, and even with our offensive struggles, the defense, again, is keeping us right in it, and a touchdown would take the lead. The problem is we haven't found the end zone all day. 3rd and 8 at the 22. Here's Nix. Looks to throw it into traffic, and it's nearly intercepted. Bo, what are you doing? Javon Bullard had a chance to pick it off. Bo Nix seems to have happy feet right now. He's in a little bit of a rut, much like the Lions game. Love throws it away on 3rd and 8. Pressure there by Baron Browning. They are in field goal range, though, and they have one of the best kickers in the league in Andres Borregales, the former Miami Hurricane, who will look to drill this one from 50. His kick is good, and it's 17-9. So we're right back to square one, down by 8, just like we were at the half. The problem is, instead of 20 minutes, there's 7.5 minutes. I think we've had probably 9 or 10 drives today. Only having 9 points against one of the worst defenses in the NFL is inexcusable. But these guys can make up for it if they wake up. Harrison Whaley with a nice run. He gets 13 yards to the 42. Let's try not to do too much. Consistent play after play. We don't need to go for the long ball. Let's wear this defense down and try to capitalize in the red zone once and for all. 2nd and 5 up the middle. Nice play after the catch by Harold Fannin Jr. With under 6 to go. The Broncos are in field goal range, but we don't want a field goal. We've had too many field goals today. Nix on 1st down. Hit as he throws, and it's intercepted again! Alontae Taylor with a leaping grab, and the Packers force another turnover. Bo Nix has now thrown 3 interceptions over the last 2 weeks. That's after he only had 3 through the first 12 weeks, including none since week 3. The turnovers starting to become a problem for Bo Nix. Packers back with it. Watson past the 50 to the 45. All Green Bay needs is a field goal, and they can make it a 2-score lead. Our defense needs a big play, and they need it now. Love on the read option. Fools Browning. I don't know how you got cooked by that. The Packers didn't really sell that play very well, but he still gets 9 and puts them in field goal range for Borregales. Here's Marshawn Lloyd bullying defenders to the 30. Now they're definitely in field goal range, and we're really banking on a turnover at this point. 2nd and 4, read in motion. Play action. Love has an open man. Musgrave snags it home and gets hit hard at the 6 by Bussa. The Packers now in the red zone with a chance to really add to this lead as they are in full chew clock mode. Denver's going to be ready to use their timeout soon. Love avoids the sack. Into the end zone. It's a touchdown. J. Michael Sturdivant, the former first-rounder out of TCU, puts Green Bay up by 15. And now it's really time to hit the panic button if you're the Broncos. 24-9, nearing the 2-minute warning. We do have all 3 timeouts if you're looking for a positive. Nix on the run, looking to keep it himself, and he is pushed out, but not before getting the first down. That'll stop the clock. Good start to the drive by Bo Nix, who statistically has had maybe his worst game of the year with the 3 turnovers. At the 37, looking up the middle. Christian Horn with it, and Horn gets it near the 50. He'll grab at his lower ankle. It's not a serious injury, though, so it's kind of a smart play by him because it stops the clock. But for now, we only have 3 healthy receivers on the roster. Nice catch by Fannin to the 17. We've got to keep things moving, though. 2nd and 10 with 1:20. Nix looks to throw it, looking for the end zone. It is caught! Savion Williams perfectly times it to where he turns his body as soon as he gets the ball. Denver finally scores a touchdown. We finally score in the red zone. Took us the entire game. Maybe we could have done it a little bit earlier, perhaps, as we will not go for the onside kick. I have faith that the run defense can get a stop here. We have all 3 of their timeouts in our back pocket. If we get a stop, this game's not over. The offense, with a sense of urgency, actually looked kind of good on that last drive, and we didn't need to call any of our timeouts. 2nd and 7 here for the Packers. Love sends it for Marshawn Lloyd, and he is quickly stopped by Marvin Grant. It's a gain of 2. Denver using their first 2 timeouts on 1st and 2nd down. And the game comes down to this. It's a 3rd and 5. I'm expecting Green Bay to throw it, but since they're a 3rd and manageable, the playbook is wide open, and it is a pass. Love looking deep. How is Musgrave that wide open? Luke Musgrave gets 52 yards, and that will do it. The Packers upset the number 1 seed Broncos 24-16. In a must-win game for Green Bay, they do so. Jordan Love threw for 3 touchdowns, and their defense, one of the worst in the NFL, had one of their best games of the year against a red-hot Denver offense. I think the biggest thing with us is minus the final offensive drive, we did not make key plays when we needed to. 1 for 10 on 3rd downs. That is absolutely inexcusable for one of the better 3rd down teams in the NFL. We're also much better than others in terms of the turnover margin. We lost the turnover battle 3-1. Bo Nix wasn't horrible per se. Him and Jordan Love finished with very similar stats, but Love made the big-time throws that Bo Nix could not. Love avoided the turnovers, for the most part, that Bo Nix could not. If this was rookie Bo Nix, I wouldn't be that upset with him. But now that we have a higher standard for him, we need Bo Nix to be better. And I'm confident he will be, given his body of work throughout the year. The run game for both teams was fine. Josh Jacobs, honestly, was the most impressive of the bunch. Both tight ends were effective. Musgrave with the clinching catch at the end of the game. Christian Watson played well. I thought Chris Brazzell played well. I wish we got him the ball more. 3 catches for Brazzell today is inexcusable. With no Tez Johnson, with no Marvin Mims, Bo had to get him the ball more because he played well when he got it. Defensively, we were pretty average. I don't want to blame the loss on the defense, but it wasn't like some great defensive performance either. If the offense had played to the level they would have over the last few weeks, we would have won the game. But if the defense had an A-plus game, we probably would have won. So I think they deserve some blame as well. Frustrating loss, but I'm confident we will bounce back. We are still the number 1 seed after this loss, but we have a lot less room for error with multiple teams winning, including Kansas City, who now sits at a record of 9-4. The Jets winning 31-10 is fascinating. We talked about them at halftime. They're playing a bunch of backups, and they're starting to get healthier. Jalen Milroe questionable this week. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are back, and of course, they're playing us this week, and the Jets need to win this game for their wild card hopes. Michael Penix, C.J. Stroud, Jaden Mickey, and T.J. Quinn are your players of the week. Bo Nix, by the way, has dropped all the way to 7th for MVP, 2 spots below Jordan Love, who climbs up to 5th. Big game upcoming this week against the Jets, who are the first team out of the playoffs, but this shows how close the AFC is, because if they beat us, they would be within a game, and they would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. And they've done this without their starting quarterback, Jalen Milroe, all year. It's been Drew Aller and Connor Harrell starting at quarterback. The undrafted rookie Harrell has started over the last 5 or 6 games, and he's honestly been quite good. With us only in the playoffs by 2 games, we need all the wins we can get, and we cannot afford to lose this game against the Jets team who's playing their best football. They're finally getting healthy after being ravished by injuries this year. I think this is going to be a really fascinating matchup next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode despite the loss. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Broncos country, let's cry.